Most people don't get what they want, not because they're unworthy or incapable, but because they never truly ask. They drift at the shoreline of their own potential, hoping the tide will carry something precious to their feet. They wait for recognition, for rescue, for a sign, and while they wait, the current quietly carries their chances farther out. The truth is simpler and harder. Life listens to voices that speak clearly. It doesn't decode hints. It doesn't translate whispers. It responds to the courage to ask. Asking is not begging, and it is not demanding. Begging puts you beneath your goal. Demanding tries to stand above it. Asking stands eye to eye with it. It is a deliberate, confident act that sets forces in motion you cannot summon any other way. When you ask with clarity, you hand the world a set of instructions. People know how to help. Doors know how to open. Paths know where to appear. When you refuse to be clear, life has no coordinates to follow, and you mistake silence for fate. There is no quota on success. There is no cap on abundance. The field isn't crowded with too many harvesters. It's dotted with people who brought no tools. Opportunity is not what's missing. Clarity and courage are. The good news is that neither is a magic trait handed to a chosen few. They are mindsets. They are habits. They are disciplines you can practice until they become part of how you walk through a day. You do not need to beg for a future. You can design one. You do not have to wait for a gatekeeper. You can bring your own key. Everything begins with knowing what you want. Not a slogan, not a wish, a definition. Vague desires create vague outcomes the way a smudged blueprint creates a crooked house. You cannot walk into a restaurant, shrug at the menu, and expect your favorite meal to land on your table. The same is true for a career, a relationship, a body of work. Clarity is the first lever that moves reality. When you decide on the shape and scale of your target, your focus finds the nearest path. Your actions fall into line, and your subconscious begins to hunt for proof that you are right about yourself. Most people carry soft, shapeless hopes. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want more money. These are not goals. They are weather reports. A real goal is textured and testable. It has contours you can trace, numbers you can name, timelines you can mark. You can see it play in your mind like a film you've watched 100 times. You can hear the sounds around it. You can describe the colors and the weight and the feel of it to a stranger, and they would understand exactly what to build for you if given the tools. Think of the cafe experience that spread across the world because one man refused to describe his vision as sell coffee. Howard Schultz wasn't chasing a product line. He was translating a mood, an aroma, a cadence of conversation, a ritual of community. He could name the light, the bar height, the steam, the pace, the cup in your hand, and the feeling in your chest. Because he was specific, investors knew what to fund, baristas knew what to deliver, and customers knew what they were stepping into. Clarity gave him a map. Courage gave him steps. Together, they gave him scale. So ask yourself with unflinching honesty, what do you want exactly? Not someday, not more, not better. What do you want in detail, in living color, in measurements that can be counted and deadlines that can be kept? Write it. Read it out loud. Rewrite it until it stops sounding like a wish and starts sounding like a plan. Your energy needs a target. Your days need something sturdy to lean on. Without that target, you will work hard and end up elsewhere. Once you know, ask for it, boldly, clearly, and without apology. This is the place where good people fail. They prepare a beautiful offer and present it as a hint. They mumble through what matters and leave meetings with nothing but a polite smile and a calendar that never calls back. The courage to ask is not arrogance. It is certainty. It tells the room you are serious and you are ready to carry what you are requesting. Picture a young founder with a beautiful mission and a soft voice. She builds a plan to connect under-resourced students with world-class learning, then stumbles at the table where the plan needs oxygen. In the early meetings, she dodges, softens, dances around the ask, and leaves with nothing but encouragement. Encouragement is a nice souvenir. It is a poor substitute for a signed agreement. One day she decides that if she can work this hard in the dark, she can speak this clearly in the light. She practices until the ask is simple enough for anyone to repeat. Here is what I am building. Here is who it helps. Here is what I need. Here is the proof so far. Here is what I will deliver in return. The next room listens differently. Clarity turns heads. Specificity opens calendars. A second meeting appears, then a third, then a commitment. The work did not change overnight. The ask did. Life responds to boldness. It is drawn to people who are not trying to be rescued and are not trying to control anyone else, but who are willing to be unmistakably direct about their intention and their effort. Ask more than once. Ask in different ways. Ask better each time. A no is not a verdict. It is a map. It tells you where your pitch bends and where your timing is off. Adjust and try again. Silence is the only refusal you get to choose. Do not choose it. Ask the right people. Not everyone can see what you see, and that is not a moral failing. It is a mismatch. Bring your vision to rooms where it can be understood and strengthened. Bring your questions to those who have walked farther. Ask for mentorship, for introductions, for feedback you can use, for time to listen. People of substance are magnetized by sincerity and effort. Many are waiting for someone like you to prove their experience still matters. Your courage to ask gives their wisdom a place to land. Even the best ask collapses without preparation. You do not receive what you merely want, you receive what you are ready to carry. Opportunities do not arrive with time to get ready attached to them. They arrive like trains with schedules you do not control, and the doors close, whether you are on board or not. Preparation is how you make sure you are already holding a ticket when the platform fills. There is a reason the world remembers the name of an Austrian bodybuilder who became an American icon. Long before the cameras found him, he was building a foundation not only of muscle, but of language, presence, and discipline. He was training a body while training a future. He could have waited for luck. He prepared for inevitability. When the door opened, he did not peek inside with apology. He stepped through as a person who could hold what he was about to be given. Preparation is more than practice at a task. It is the shaping of a person. If you ask for abundance and have never learned to manage a small amount of money, abundance will embarrass you. If you ask for leadership and have never studied yourself, your reactions, your tendency to speak before you understand, leadership will expose you. If you ask for love and have never learned the work of listening, love will confuse you. Be faithful with the small assignment. Carry it cleanly. Then ask for something heavier. Success is not a lottery. It is a load. Strong people lift it because they trained when it was quiet. Stop waiting to be discovered. Talent finds many of us and grows bored while we stall. Prepare as if your appointment with the future is already on the books, and you just haven't been told the date. Replace someday with a schedule. Read the books that discipline avoided. Train the skills you keep promising to get to when things calm down. Repair the habits that make your mornings frantic and your evenings numb. Great moments are not impressed by frantic. They are caught by people who have been steady for so long that steadiness is their resting state. Belief is the atmosphere where asking and preparation breathe, not the brittle posture of a skeptic who would rather be right than build, but the open, wholehearted belief of someone who remembers what it felt like to imagine without blushing. Children do not run their dreams through a filter called realistic. They reach, they try. They fall, they rise. They keep the picture in their hands and they are not embarrassed by how big it is. That is the kind of belief that keeps you moving when the hallway gets long. Belief by itself can float into fantasy. Planning by itself can harden into drudgery. The alchemy of achievement is the combination. Believe like a child, plan like an adult. Let your vision be big enough to make you stand a little taller when you say it. Then put on the calm face of an architect and begin to measure. You do not shrink a dream to the size of your current resources. You grow your resources to the size of your true dream by mapping what is needed and arranging your days to go get it. At a time when entertainment looked like one thing and parks were rides and lines and sticky floors, someone believed a castle could stand in the middle of a story and make generations want to walk into it. He was told it was too expensive, too complicated, too much. He drew anyway. He counted crowds and studied flow and wrote budgets with numbers that made other people dizzy. He believed loudly and planned specifically until the unbelievable could be audited. This is not a fairy tale. It is a way of working, vision that dazzles and a plan that holds a pencil. If you have been living at one end of that equation, change your weight. If you dream and never plan, your hope will become heavy and you will start to resent the very thing that once gave you light. If you plan and never dream, your work will feel like punishment, and you will walk home every night with a full to-do list and an empty heart. Put them together. The dream gives your plan meaning. The plan gives your dream a schedule. One keeps you resilient when you hear another no. The other keeps you honest when your energy dips. Allow yourself to want more than you have allowed in a long time. Then let the adult part of you take that want and slice it into weeks and milestones and skills to be earned. Write the names of people you need to meet and the places you need to be seen. Draw the budget and the calendar and the habits that the budget and the calendar will demand from you. Your energy will change. Your days will stop being a reaction and start being an instrument you know how to play. Now imagine the ocean. You are standing where the water meets the land and you can feel the horizon telling you a truth you have avoided. There is more available than you have been willing to request. Many people arrive here with a teaspoon and then complain that the ocean is stingy. They dip, they shrug, they wander off. Their container was the problem, not the sea. If you have been asking for a small life because someone taught you that safety lives in smallness, trade your teaspoon for a bucket. If you have been approaching your future with a container shaped by fear, upgrade your capacity before you upgrade your complaint. A teacher once dreamed of more than chalkboards and broken blinds. She could see a school that did not yet exist in a neighborhood where children deserved something better than slogans. For years, she asked for supplies and settled for sympathy. One day, she wrote the bigger version without apologizing for its size. She spoke to leaders, to donors, to people who could open gates, and she learned the language of grants and bids and zoning. She did not know how it would all fall into place. She knew what she was asking for, and she kept asking with a bigger container. The ocean responded the only way it knows how. It filled what she brought. The size of your ask is not about greed. It is about responsibility. Bigger goals demand that you become someone larger on the inside, more disciplined, more generous, more precise with your days. When you reach for more, you are not just chasing a number. You are volunteering to grow. Your standards rise, your rooms change, your habits evolve. You stop speaking small in conversations that matter. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop making jokes at your own expense. You stop treating your future like a side project. Do not wait for the perfect plan to take the first step. Clarity, asking, preparation, belief, and scale are only alive if married to daily action. Many begin loudly and vanish quickly. They map a mountain and then argue for a week about which shoes to wear, while someone else has already taken 10 steps and learned something the map could not teach. Real progress is built from honest days stacked until they cannot be knocked over. Consider the printer, the postmaster, the diplomat, the writer, the tinkerer who built himself one careful habit at a time. He tracked his virtues on paper not because he expected perfection, but because he preferred proof. He was not trying to be brilliant once. He was trying to be consistent always. The list on his desk was not romantic. It was reliable, and reliability invited results from every direction because reliability is rare. Action is the bridge between the future you describe and the life you occupy. It does not have to be impressive. It has to be daily. Do not confuse heat for light. Busyness looks like movement. Progress feels like movement. The difference is direction. Align your actions with the outcome you have sworn to build. Reach out to one person who can change the week. Write the paragraph no one will see yet. Cut one expense that keeps your fear louder than your courage. Break a sweat even when the weather tells you to sulk. Keep a simple ledger of proof so your mind cannot lie to you about what you did. There will be days when inspiration is a no-show. That is fine. Discipline is not a mood. It is a structure. Build environments that make the right choice the easy choice. Put the phone in the other room. Put your shoes by the door at night so your morning argues less. Schedule what matters. Make appointments with yourself you do not break. Track streaks until the line on the calendar is too beautiful to interrupt. Do not let a missed day turn into a story about your identity. One miss is weather. 2 misses is a trend. Come back before your mind starts rearranging the furniture and insisting that you live among old habits again. The sooner you return, the quieter the return will be. The longer you wait, the louder the return must be to drown out the shame. Choose quiet and soon. The final ingredients are humility, gratitude, and readiness, and they are not optional for people who want to build something that can survive their own success. You will wait between steps. You will labor unseen. You will watch others sprint past you in the short run. During these stretches, you have a choice. Complain your way into cynicism or stay so grounded in gratitude that your heart does not harden. Humility keeps you teachable when the first winds arrive. Gratitude keeps you kind when the drought is long. Readiness keeps you sharp so you can catch opportunities in motion. History is full of people who lost more than they won and led better because of it. Losing can sour or it can season. In the long campaign toward a higher office, a lanky lawyer from a small cabin wrote defeat into his education and showed up to later rooms with both a spine and a soft hand. He did not let delay humiliate him into quitting. He let it refine him into someone worthy of being followed when the stakes were unforgiving. That is the difference between someone who wants a title and someone who becomes a steward. Humility does not mean thinking less of yourself. It means being more interested in the work than the applause. Gratitude is not denial of difficulty. It is the choice to count what is in your hands while you reach for what is not. Readiness is not paranoia. It is the quiet decision to stay in shape for your own life. Many miss their moment because they stopped moving. They say there was no opportunity. Often there was. It did not slow down to be noticed. It expected to be recognized by people who had stayed awake. Carry yourself like someone who expects to be called on. Do not walk around demanding a stage. Walk around prepared to walk onto one without warning. Learn while you wait. Practice while you hope. Improve while you rest. The world does not owe you a perfect opening, but it will honor relentless preparation when the opening appears. You have now traced the outline of a path that most will never walk because it requires the ordinary bravery of beginning, the ordinary stubbornness of continuing, and the ordinary honesty of adjusting without drama. Ask clearly, prepare deeply, believe without blushing, plan like an architect, trade small containers for larger ones, move daily, stay humble, stay grateful, stay ready. The person who keeps doing these simple, difficult things becomes someone whose life begins to align in ways that used to feel like luck. And now we arrive at the quietest turning point of all, the inch between what you know and what you do. Knowledge has a sweet voice. Action has calluses. There is a door right here with your name on it that you have walked past for months while telling yourself a story about timing. Turn the handle. It has never been locked. Step through and keep walking, not because the road is easy, but because it is yours. You have already felt the difference a simple turn of the handle can make. The moment you step through, you discover that the space beyond is not a throne room, but a workshop. Tools are scattered. Blueprints are half drawn. There is dust in the air and the hum of possibility in the walls. This is where asking becomes architecture. This is where the person you promise to become learns to keep promises at scale. Begin by speaking a language that gives others something to do. Vague wishes ask people to perform mind reading. Clear requests invite them into roles they can recognize. When you reach out to a mentor, tell them precisely what you admire and exactly what you want to learn in the next 30 days. When you contact a partner, show the overlap between your mission and theirs, name the outcome you're proposing, and describe the first step you will take if they say yes. When you pitch a client, articulate the problem as they would describe it to themselves and present your solution with terms that can be checked and timelines that can be honored. The world is filled with good intentions that never become instructions. Good instructions become movement. A no will come. Expect it without becoming addicted to it. There are people who treat rejection like prophecy and live it out for years. There are others who treat rejection as information and return to the field wiser. A no can mean not now, not this way, not with these words, not to this person. If you log what you hear and adjust what you do, the same effort that once felt like banging on a locked gate becomes the careful work of finding the right entrance. One day the no opens into a corridor that was never visible from the front steps. Asking also means asking yourself for more than you have previously required. There is an inner committee that votes every morning on the quality of your day. If you allow the laziest member to call the meeting to order, your hours will belong to comfort. Dismiss that member gently and permanently. Replace them with the version of you that is unafraid of small discomforts in service of large outcomes. Raise your standards in the conversations you hold with yourself. If you would not tolerate public mockery from a stranger, stop tolerating private mockery from your own thoughts. Ask for better words. Ask for a braver posture. Ask for the gentleness you keep reserving for everyone but you. Clarity becomes sharper through a simple loop. Name what you want, take a step, measure, refine, repeat. The loop is quiet and it is fast. It stops you from living exclusively in your head. It also protects you from the busy work that feels like progress, but only rearranges the furniture of your delay. If the step you take generates no signal, take a different step. If the measure is fuzzy, choose a yardstick that tells the truth, even when you wish it wouldn't. If the refinement looks like an excuse, return to the original promise and read it until your spine remembers why you wrote it. There is a myth about gatekeepers. It says that a small council of experts sits between you and everything you want. It says they own the doors and you must learn to flatter them or you will never cross. Sometimes this is true in small rooms for short seasons. More often, gatekeepers are busy with their own storms and you are kept out by invisible gates you built yourself. When you build proof, when you show up with work that solves real problems for real people, many gates swing. Some never noticed you were there. Now they call you by name. Others stay closed while you walk around them on a path you made by serving the people who were supposed to be on the other side. There are 3 common pathways to yes. One is the direct ask, clean and respectful. Another is the offer of unmistakable value, so useful that yes becomes the only logical response. The third is proof at scale, where you demonstrate your claim in public until the people who used to audition you begin to audition themselves for roles in your work. The first requires courage, the second requires empathy, the third requires consistency. You can travel all 3 in a year if you are willing to keep moving when the road is empty of applause. Consider a painter who once hung canvases in a hallway no one visited. She stopped waiting for a gallery to call and organized a small show in a borrowed warehouse. She sent handwritten invitations that described her story and the story behind each piece. She priced the work with a clear range, named the charity she would support from the first sales, and wrote a short note to 3 local curators asking them to visit for 10 minutes. One came, then the second called later because the first would not stop talking about the color and the light. The third arrived at the next show because people were beginning to mention her name with a tone that suggested they might be late if they didn't come now. The work did not change overnight. The requests grew clearer. The proof grew louder. The rooms adjusted. Or take a junior developer who wanted to join a team that kept ignoring his applications. He built a small tool that solved a persistent annoyance for their users, wrote a calm essay explaining how he made it, and published both on a weekend when most people were trying to forget their week. By Monday, he had a message from a hiring manager who had quietly suffered the same annoyance and finally saw someone who could relieve it. The manager did not suddenly become generous. The developer became undeniable. There is a nurse who kept inventing practical improvements during long shifts. She wrote them in a notebook and assumed no one would listen. One evening, she typed them up with photos and outcomes, then asked for 10 minutes with the person who ordered supplies. 10 minutes became a pilot. The pilot saved money and minutes. Minutes became momentum. A new role was created because a person who kept their patients warm also learned to keep their ideas alive long enough to find a yes. There is an athlete who wanted a sponsor he had no business attracting on paper. He trained and posted arbitrary highlight clips like everyone else, and nothing changed. Then he began publishing his training logs, his sleep, his recovery, his meals, and a weekly summary of lessons learned. He stopped showing off and started showing evidence. A brand that was tired of empty swagger called not because he was the loudest performer, but because he was the most reliable teacher of his own process. They weren't just buying a face. They were partnering with a system. If rejection bruises you into retreat, start keeping a ledger of no's. Write them down with the same seriousness you give your wins. 50 no's in a quarter for clear, respectful asks is not failure. It is proof of reach. Review the ledger once a month and ask what pattern you can break. Improve your timing, adjust your message, change your room, refine your offer. The ledger becomes a map out of the forest. Learn the craft of conversation. Negotiation is not a contest. It is the art of aligning interests in a way that can survive daylight. When you ask, begin with context that honors the other person's reality. Anchor your request in outcomes that matter to them. Offer reciprocity without being performative about it. End with a next step that reduces their cognitive load. Clarity is kindness. Specificity is respect. Follow through is your reputation leaving fingerprints where your mouth just was. Preparation deserves detail. Many people say they will get ready and then hide inside a fog of general improvement. Be surgical. If you are a designer who keeps losing work to someone faster, learn the keyboard shortcuts that reduce your hour to 40 minutes. If you are a speaker whose voice gets small in large rooms, train your breath and study the architecture of a talk until your ideas hold themselves up. If you are a manager who has never learned to delegate, write down every task you are hoarding and the risk you think you are protecting. Then begin training someone to share the burden so you can become the kind of leader your own ambition keeps promising. Belief becomes practical when it is paired with the discipline of rehearsal. Seeing the outcome is not fantasy when you are willing to carry your body through the motions until the picture and the muscles agree. Create a reverse timeline that begins with the moment you are aiming for and works backward to today's smallest responsibility. Conduct a pre-mortem on your plan by assuming it failed and listing the most likely reasons. Fix as many as you can before they become headlines. The point is not to worry. The point is to design with your eyes open. Return to the ocean and your container. If you keep arriving with a bigger bucket but the handle breaks, the water's abundance becomes a mess you cannot carry. Strengthen the handle. The handle is your habits. The handle is your calendar. The handle is your willingness to say no to the small pleasures that eat the hours you promised to something larger. Capacity is not only about how much you want to receive, it is about how well you can transport what you receive to the places where it can grow. Action is easiest when it becomes a culture you live rather than a battle you fight. Build simple rituals that your day begins to crave. Start your mornings by touching the most avoided task before the world can bargain you out of it. Close your evenings by telling the truth on paper about what moved the needle and what stole your time. Keep your tools visible and your temptations inconvenient. Let your environment argue on behalf of your best self. When momentum begins to build, it will test your character. People will notice. Some will praise in ways that make you want to perform instead of produce. Some will criticize in ways that tempt you to stop building just to defend yourself. Both are traps. Applause is a breeze. Let it pass across your face and keep your hands on your work. Criticism is weather. Dress for it and keep walking. Neither changes the direction of the road that your plan and your belief already agreed upon. Do not allow the sophistication of your dream to outpace the simplicity of your day. It is possible to become so grand in your vision that you forget how to sweep the floor of your own studio. The great builders do both. They protect the sanctity of small tasks because small tasks are where pride is tamed and excellence learns its manners. They can brief a board in the morning and take out the trash at night without believing one deed makes them royal and the other makes them small. Remember the seasons. You will not reap what you planted yesterday in a field that has barely seen rain. There is a dormant stretch in every honest effort where the soil is doing work that refuses to show itself to your impatience. Keep watering. Keep weeding. Keep showing up to a ground that looks like it is not listening. It is listening. It is storing. It is preparing to keep a promise that only arrives to those who did not abandon it. If you need an anchor for days when ambition feels heavier than hope, choose a sentence that fits on a scrap of paper and lives in your pocket. Choose something that feels like a friend who does not flatter you. Something like, I do the work whether or not anyone is watching. Or, my proof will be louder than my pitch. Or, I move one stone today no matter how the mountain feels about it. Pull the sentence out when your mind begins to rehearse old exits. Read it once, read it again, continue. When you find yourself in rooms that your younger self could not imagine, let gratitude loosen your shoulders without softening your standards. You are not there by accident. You are also not there to posture. State your case in the same clear voice you used in the quiet years. Ask for what the work deserves, not for what your ego craves. When you hear yes, accept with grace and deliver more than you promised. When you hear no, thank them for the transparency and return to the field where the next yes is being grown. Teach as you climb. The ladder becomes safer when someone like you tells the truth about the rungs. Share the tools you wish you had been handed. Share the mistakes you made without glamorizing the pain or minimizing the lesson. Share introductions when you can. The moment you become a distribution channel for opportunity, opportunity notices and increases its supply. Guard your inner circle. It is not elitist to protect your attention. It is stewardship. Sit with those who are building, who ask uncomfortable questions gently, who celebrate without envy, who confront without cruelty. Leave politely when conversations devolve into the kind of complaint that makes you smaller and nothing else. You are not better than anyone. You are simply serious about what you are carrying, and seriousness is a gift to the people whose lives your work will touch. When fatigue creeps in, step back without stepping away. Rest deliberately. Sleep with the lights of your devices off and the light of your intention on. Eat in ways that make your next morning thankful, not regretful. Move your body to remind your mind that motion is natural and stagnation is a choice. This is not aesthetic advice. It is operational. Tired builders make sloppy choices and call them destiny. Rested builders make hard choices and call them Tuesday. Keep a record of proof that even your future self cannot argue with. Numbers that show a slope where there used to be a flat line. Notes from people who were helped by something you almost didn't ship. Photos of your workspace on days when no one believed in you, including you. These are not trophies. They are anchors for the next storm and mirrors for the next moment of doubt. There will come a morning when you catch yourself doing something with a fluency that used to terrify you. You will be in the meeting speaking calmly about a figure that would have turned your mouth dry last year. You will be writing a page that once took you a week. You will be holding a tool that used to feel like a stranger and now feels like an extension of your hand. Smile for a moment and then keep moving. Mastery is safest when it remembers its own beginner. Let your results retire the story that you need permission. Let the work you've shipped make old explanations feel too small to wear. Let the way you show up turn the word luck into a compliment for your consistency. You are not owed an easy route, but you are capable of a worthy one. And the map for that route has been drawing itself every time you chose clarity over comfort. By now, the principles have braided into something you can feel when you wake. You ask for what matters in a way that gives people a reason to respond. You prepare so thoroughly that opportunities can trust you. You believe with the friendly audacity of a child and plan with the calm hands of an adult. You carry a larger container to the shore and strengthen the handle so it will not snap. You move every day in the direction you said you would. You walk with humility, gratitude, and readiness so that when doors open, you do not trip over your own pride or your own rust. This is not theory anymore. It is a way of living. You will not be perfect at it. You do not need to be. You will miss and return. You will falter and correct. You will face rooms that do not respect you, and you will leave them without letting disrespect move into your head. You will also stand on stages you once imagined from the cheap seats. You will shake hands in offices you once passed by with your eyes down. You will write your name on contracts and canvases and code repositories and community charters and know that ink is not the miracle. The miracle is that you became the person who could carry what the ink represents. Most people don't get what they want because they never truly ask, because they never become clear enough to be helped, because they never prepare long enough to be trusted, because they never believe big enough to stay through the winter, because they never plan carefully enough to show up in the spring, because they keep bringing teaspoons to an ocean that keeps inviting buckets, because they act in bursts instead of days, because they let pride stand where humility belongs, because they let boredom sit where gratitude should, because they confuse waiting with readiness. You are no longer most people. From here, keep the promise simple and keep it daily. Speak what you mean. Do what you said. Learn from what happened. Adjust without drama. Ask again. Knock again. Build again. Rest on purpose. Rise on schedule. Hold yourself to a standard that allows the world to relax when it chooses you, because it can feel that you already chose yourself. One day, someone will ask how you did it. You will be tempted to tell a glamorous story. You will stop yourself and smile. You will say you wrote it down until it sounded like a plan. You will say you asked until asking felt natural. You will say you prepared for a door without knowing which hallway it would appear in. You will say you believed like a child and counted like an adult. You will say you upgraded your container and strengthened the handle. You will say you moved even when nothing was moving. You will say you stayed humble when the room cheered and grateful when the room was empty. You will say you were ready when the yes arrived. Then you will hand them back their own future and tell them the same thing life told you when you finally spoke clearly. Say what you want, ask for it without apology, become the kind of person who can carry it, and do the next right thing today. The rest is just time catching up to your decision.